my name is Sabrina.
And I'm Caleb.
And we are the lead performers at Australian Outback Spectacular. We're here today to talk to you about travelling and transporting your horses.
Yeah, definitely. So I think there's a lot of factors that come into play. I guess there's prior to loading, the loading component itself and travel, and then the tips we can give you for when you do unload as well.
No one knows your horse better than you do, of course, but I guess we're here today to talk to you about a bit of a checklist or things to think about so that you can have the safest and best travel journey as possible with your horse.
For sure. So for us, before we even think about loading our horse, it's making sure that we have everything loaded in our trailer, such as a vet kit, electrolytes for when we do get off, and any equipment for safety to make sure that our trip and the horse's trip can be as comfortable and safe as possible.
Definitely, and sometimes, you do have to think of the worst case scenario, right? As much as we don't like to, you do have to think what can go wrong, and just to ensure that you do have what you need in your truck or in your bag ready to go in case something does happen, definitely.
For sure, and for me personally, I guess it's making sure that my horse has had exposure to that vehicle, the truck or trailer, and prior training to make sure that that is a stress-free kind of journey for them as well. So making sure that they've loaded and unloaded before we have that added pressure from us of having to get to a certain destination.
Yeah, and never being in a rush. Do you find that? It's always those things. It's like when you're driving somewhere, you always get a red light. It's like
makes us go slower.
Yeah, you never want to be in a rush, and your horse is definitely going to read the energy that you're reading. So as long as everything's calm from your behalf, then it's going to be a higher chance that things are going to go much more smoother for you.
Exactly, and for me as well, I guess we live in Australia. It gets really hot in summer, so making sure that we have optimum ventilation in our trailer truck float to make sure that there's airflow there for our horses to make sure they're not overheating and getting too hot, as well as picking the time of day to make sure that we're traveling in the best conditions possible for our horses.
When you're traveling and when the horse is on board on transport, you do have to keep in mind how far are you traveling. A 15-minute trip is very different, right, to traveling interstate. So,
exactly.
If you have a long trip ahead of you, it's keeping in mind, does it consist of having an overnight stopover? And horse people, we always put our horses first. So, and we might need to stop ourselves as well, to have a snack, stay hydrated, and keeping that in mind and just keeping time. There's always an end destination, but maybe it can take a little bit longer just so it's a safer trip for your horse.
Yeah, and for me, hydration, like you said, was key. Yeah. So if our horses are sweating in their travels and they're getting off a little bit dehydrated, making sure that we have some kind of electrolyte for them to have a drink of post getting off so they can get their head down and make sure they have that natural position again to make sure they have recovery time as quickly as possible after they do unload.
Definitely. Now, let's talk about arriving, right? They're arriving probably at a destination that they may or may not have been at before. So you've got to think of the things that's going to make your horse as comfortable as they did at their home base. Being habitual creatures, we want to make them feel definitely safe where you're arriving. So keeping all the things that, a hay net, a bucket of water, you might arrive somewhere and they might not have those things. So just making sure you've packed everything that is going to be needed to make your horse feel as safe and comfortable in that destination.
I totally agree. And I think for us, that's our top tips, and we're hoping that we can give you a little bit of insight and a few different tips that we would use when we travel our horses.
Good luck and have fun.